I am so excited to welcome Kristine Lajeunesse to the show today. Kristine and I go back probably like 20 plus years between
Yeah,
all of our kids.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I remember, I think we met when our kids were in elementary school.
hmm Yeah,
So it's been a long, long time. And we've seen each other kind of grow and do a lot of different things. So I'm so excited to have you here today. Before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about you to our listeners. You are the co-owner of Always Best Care Senior Services of Central Connecticut, a trusted provider of solely non-medical in-home care for older and disabled adults for over 16 years. Based in Manchester, Connecticut, Kristine and her husband, John, are especially proud to partner with the Veterans Administration's Community Care Program, helping veterans receive care at home. A certified dementia practitioner, Kristine is deeply committed to supporting individuals and families affected by dementia and Parkinson's. She brings extensive training and compassion to her work and continues to be a vital resource in the senior care community. So that's a lot. That's a lot of doing a lot of amazing things in the community.
thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. Um, it wasn't the path I thought I would be on, but it's definitely the path that I was meant to be on. When
Mm-hmm.
plans, I think we were talking before about when plans don't quite go the way you think they're going to go, or your career is going to go in the direction it is. How do you kind of reinvent that or wind up to where you really need to be? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that even though I've had hardships along the way, as a child and even as a young adult, um, with having a home care agency here in the town that I was born and raised in, really means a great deal to me. And just being able to do and give to families what we didn't have when I was growing up for our own.
That's amazing and a lot of impact. So I know that you're such a huge contributor to the Vernon, the whole Connecticut area, and I know it's so greatly appreciated. What inspired you and John to start the agency over 16 years ago?
Yeah, so I mean, both John and I grew up with either grandparents living in our home or grandparents living right next door and being those family caregivers. And we each had different career paths early on in life. I had hoped to be a nurse, and that was inspired by my grandmother and being a family caregiver and just wanting to be able to do that. And blood and needles are just not something that go well with what I can do.
I can relate
So,
to that.
yeah. And so it's hard when you have this mindset as a young girl that this is what you're going to do. And then you learn that that's not going to be attainable.
Mhm.
I think educators now have come so far in guiding students, but when I went back to my guidance counselor, and I uncovered this, that I wasn't going to be able to do this, my guidance counselor was very old school and basically said, I don't know what to tell you. Didn't offer me another resource, another avenue in this type of field. And so I kind of put that dream away. Um, and through some life events, I mean, John and I, we got married, we started a family, and he had a completely separate career as a finance officer, and I was home focused on caregiving of little people
Yep.
and raising them. And our life kind of got turned upside down in 2008 going into 2009. We owned a business with 2 locations. Um, and the financial world was in upheaval at that time, and we owned a heavy construction equipment dealership, and the finance officers came back to John in a fax, not even by phone or in person, and disclosed that we had 30 days to secure $20 million for a floor plan.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, I had no
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it was scary because banks were looking for money from the government. So they
Yeah.
certainly weren't lending money to people, even though the business was prosperous. Um, the construction industry as a whole was struggling back in 2008. So we shut the doors on 2 locations. I was not working outside the home at that time. Um, and John came home and contemplated what he was going to do with his life. And he's anybody that knows him, we're complete pull. I'm more aligned with him now. I'm more thoughtful in my process of decisions. But at the time, I was like a jump in head first, and we'll figure out how to swim. And John is a numbers guy, so everything has to be examined 1,000 different ways. And
Mhm.
he contemplated going back and working for people after an 18-year career with this company and then being an owner for the last 3 years. And I convinced him that we should go into business and start a new business. And so we looked at anything and everything you could think of. Didn't ask anybody for any financial help. We just, took what savings and ingenuity we had. And a business broker wound up finding us and talking to us for quite some time. And we started to share this story, the story that I wanted to be a nurse, the story that we both cared for our grandparents, and all of these different things. And one of the things that he proposed was home care. There were some other things on the table that would have been great too, but the home care really resonated with John and
Yeah,
I.
you were like, "Ding, ding, ding."
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually it.
Mm.
And just knowing what our experience had been, because by this time, one of our family members was living with dementia. And there it was John's aunt, and John's uncle was still working full time. And we saw that it could be quite a challenge for him to balance young children, a career, and care for his spouse and find quality care to bring into the home that he could trust. And so we took all of that, and my passion for wanting to see the best in care for people, being able to live out their life however they chose, and started our agency. And certainly through, we worked probably, you try to figure out how you can work 150, 160 hours in a week, but you don't sleep. Your brain is on constantly going.
Yeah.
And that first year and a half was tough. It was tough. We actually thought one of us was going to have to go and get another job because you're just trying to get the word out there on what
And
you do.
that's really not uncommon, is it? I
Yeah.
mean, so many business owners, entrepreneurs, they have a lot of different things going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, but the level of like uh, detail and knowing that you're caring for people, I mean, that kind of takes it to a whole other level. It's not like you're selling a thing. You're really caring for these individuals so much.
Yeah, you're responsible for the livelihood and well-being of somebody's aside from children, the next most cherished family member for most people are your parents, right?
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
grandparents, because they've molded you. Not everybody has the same relationship with their parent, but they have some type of parental figure in their life. So
Yeah,
whether it's a blood relative or through some other relationship, we took this responsibility so seriously in making sure that people people had the best quality of care. And that doesn't just come from John and I. We're dependent upon the people we're hiring. And now we have a huge back office support team. In the beginning, for the first 18 months, it was just John and Kristine, the John and
Hmm.
Kristine show out there. And we were providing care and doing all the back office stuff, plus hiring staff to help us.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
I, a lot of people really dream of owning a business, but are afraid to take the leap to do so.
Yeah.
Um, Aside from kind of like getting up and running, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced early on, and how did you overcome them?
Work-life balance is huge, right? We still had school-age children, so trying to transition from that, trying. John isn't with the numbers guy is very compartmentalized. My personality is not. I don't shut anything off. I overthink things. So I think trying to be able to hone and develop that and being able to shut my brain down for a period of
Mhm.
time. But I also think in any business, you're going to have the highs and the great times where you're really succeeding. And there's going to be the times where the phone isn't ringing, things
Yeah.
aren't going the way you need them to.
Mhm.
And as an entrepreneur, you, whatever business or direction you're going in, I truly feel like you have to be passionate about that, even on the worst day
Yeah,
in business, because that's what's going to get you through is that mindset and problem solving to help you come out on the other side.
that's so good. Well, what made you choose the area of senior services, or has that now expanded into other areas? Because I know you are specialized in Parkinson's, dementia. Like, not everybody is senior when unfortunately they're hit with some of these illnesses.
Yeah, I mean, through the years, our youngest client was 14,
Oh, wow.
which is almost unheard of. But generally, the population we serve could be as young, especially with our veterans, it could be as young as their early 30s, all the way up to our oldest client was 108.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
a life.
Oh gosh, what an incredible life. And I think that's really the most beautiful thing is you're being invited into a person's life and their story. And I think what makes us different and successful is, you meet a 95-year-old on the street, right? And the only thing you're seeing in that moment is where that 95-year-old is, cognition wise, physically. But when we're going in and we're meeting with people, we want to know the entire backstory. I want to know everything from their childhood all the way up to when they enter care with us, because that makes up the whole person,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
It,
I just can't even imagine all the stories that you hear, stories of life, stories like decades and decades of stories. You could probably write a book.
yeah, yeah, some very interesting stories. And with the client's story comes the family's story.
Mhm.
So, I'm an only child, so I don't have stories to compare my life like with siblings, right? My experience with my parents is just, it's my experience, and I don't have anybody else to talk to about that. But if a, you have one sibling or you have 10 siblings, you each have a story
Mhm.
that in a relationship with your parent or your loved one. And so when we're coming into that journey and caring for somebody, not only are we looking at the life story of the person that we're caring for, but we're all looking at the story and the relationship between each family member. They all have the same goal for the most part. They all want the best quality of care, letting their loved ones live their life out with dignity and all of that.
Mhm.
But everybody's in that family has a different journey and how they want to get to that end point. So if you and I were siblings, right, I might want to hop on the highway and get there because that's really quick. But me knowing you personally, you like the scenic route. You want to take the path, enjoy all of these little nuances. But in the end, we're both getting to the same point, but our route to get there is different. And I have to be appreciative of each person and where in that journey that they want to get to for the end result to be the same.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's really like that is being super intuitive and just really growing the patient skill too.
Yeah.
Patience as in being patient
Yeah.
and understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. You have
Wow.
to, you, I've always educated my staff that the dynamics of the family, we can't go in prejudging where everybody is
Yeah.
because we don't know the story that led them to that relationship with their loved one,
Mhm.
and the emotions that they're experiencing. So we have to be empathetic and we have to listen. And you have to really listen in between the lines to some of the
Yeah.
things and watch body language and all of that to really have a full understanding of what's happening
Yeah.
and not always assume, ask good questions.
It's a complicated business.
It
It's a
is a
complicated business, but such a loving business.
it is. It is. And we enjoy it every day. But I think of my own journey as an only child and watching my parents care for my grandmother. And there wasn't home care, right, at that time in the late 70s, early 80s. She passed away in 1981. Um, and them really trying so hard to keep her home and care for her. And when they couldn't do that anymore safely, and the only alternative was and that this isn't to say anything negative about a long term care facility, but their only option was to place her in long term care. And she passed very shortly after. The emotional impact and the psychological impact it had on my dad that then spilled over into my own relationship with my father
Mhm.
was it was really hard. It was
Yeah.
really hard. So, and I hope that we now can provide some type of resource to families where they don't have to struggle with the things that I saw my dad or my mom struggle with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. Well, what has it been like running and growing a family-run business, and how has that shaped the culture and mission of your company?
Um, well, you have to have a very good relationship, especially with your spouse. We
Yeah.
don't we don't always see eye to eye. I think one of the biggest things this year is we don't share an office anymore.
Smart.
Ron says we got an office divorce, but that's that's it. Um, I mean, I think it's one of the greatest joys and pride in my life to say that we have built something that is family run, um, and to come at it from that approach, um, because even though we're here in the office collaborating, there's still conversation when we go home, but you have to learn how to navigate that. And I think when you're a family business, one of the biggest things we've had to work on is if we have something going on as a family, we can't let that impact what's happening here in our office, and vice versa. If there's something where we don't see eye to eye here, we can't take that home. And that takes a lot of work. It takes
Yeah.
a lot of work. I mean, marriage in general
Yeah.
takes a lot of work, but when you add this family component, and we have an adult daughter that works with us too, so now you add another layer of managing, being a parent at home and being a boss and collaborator here in the office. And sometimes we have to really, before we have a conversation, we have to define the role. Are we talking as a family, or are we talking as business partners?
Do you see, this was not part of my intended question with this, but I'm so curious. Do you find that with your daughter stepping into more of a leadership role, do you see the roles reversing where she's trying to lead you?
Yes.
I remember my mom used to tell me that all the time.
Yes, absolutely. But in the beginning, I think it was a little strange for me to embrace that. But now I mean, and I've always been really proud of Taylor. Um, I'm sure she would say years, a long time ago, she would not have imagined sitting next to her dad and I in this business. But she has earned her place in this business. When she started, we never introduced her as our daughter. We just let people try to figure out what that relationship was. And not because we weren't proud that she joined us, but we wanted her to earn her merit on her own.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, she has soared leaps and bounds above me in anything that I've done. And I'm very proud of her as a mom, but proud of her as a woman, like seeing her take hold of all of those things and really overcome some big things. Her and I have some similar personality traits where we're like these introverted extroverts. We're great turned on at certain times, but other times we're just happy with a blanket and a book.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, pushing her out of her comfort zone and all of that.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, well, I know that you partner with the Veterans Administration to provide care through the community care program. Can you share a little bit about the partnership and why it's so meaningful to you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, veterans have a special spot in our hearts. I think anybody that has a family member that is a veteran, or has met a veteran, you know how much they sacrifice for our country, right? I think when my dad, and more so my father-in-law, came back from serving, my father-in-law served during Vietnam, and so when he came home, he didn't come home to the type of welcome that our veterans come home to now. And this is currently the population we're serving. We're serving a lot of our Vietnam veterans, and they were so afraid to go back to the VA to take advantage of benefits and things like that that they're entitled to. So when we had the opportunity to apply and become a partner and a provider for the Veterans Administration, it just filled my heart with joy, because essentially what the VA Community Cares program does is it allows our veterans to have home care at no cost to them, nothing out of pocket. So as long as they're
Wow.
receiving, they don't necessarily have to already be enrolled in receiving care through the VA. Our agency can help them in navigating how they can do that. But as long as they're receiving some type of support or care in one way or another through the Veterans Administration, um, they can potentially qualify for something as small as 6 or 8 hours a week of care that could provide a family member respite. That's the primary caregiver.
That's so
Or
important.
it
So
is.
important. Yeah.
It is, but some of our veterans receive upwards of 56 to 72 hours a week of care
Oh,
with
wow.
no money out of pocket. And so many of our Vietnam veterans are diagnosed with Parkinson's because of their exposure to toxins, like through contaminated water at Camp Lejeune, or when they were exposed to Agent Orange in
Yeah.
Vietnam, that now we're starting to see those effects. Um, And those veterans, they deserve care. And we as a country, I think, are responsible for providing that as a thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Um, my heart is literally bursting right now. I didn't
Oh,
realize that you guys did all of this, so it's just incredible to me.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm so excited to be able to share this with our audience, and just bring more awareness
Thank you. I
around some of these
appreciate that.
very important issues.
Yeah. I it means a great deal because I think home care should quality. Let me start that off. I'll put the word quality. Quality home care is deserved by everyone. It shouldn't matter on what your like socioeconomic resources are, right? Or how you grew up or where you grew up. Um, it's all about dignity and aging
Yeah.
in
Yep.
place. And we need to do a better job. Even here in Connecticut, we go to other states and there's like a plentiful amount of resources as to way people can access quality home care or alternative living arrangements if you can't live at home. And I
Mhm.
think Connecticut is finally starting to rise to that occasion and offering a wider variety, but we're coming upon the largest population of people, seniors aging in place, and we need to step up and to the plate and be able to meet their needs.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
I know that you've dedicated a lot of your career to dementia education and support. What sparked that passion, and how has it influenced the way you serve your clients?
Um, I mean, John's aunt definitely. John's aunt showed signs in her 40s, but we were uneducated at the time, in really what was going on as we started to see her create these stories and challenges, and create, sadly, some friction amongst family members. Um, at 50, she was officially diagnosed, which is early onset Alzheimer's, she was diagnosed with. And it really became our mission and passion here to have a better understanding of the disease and how it's not a cookie cutter disease, because it impacts your brain, impacts different areas of your brain. And we wanted to be able to meet people in their moment in their journey instead of oftentimes where people are correcting you. We shouldn't expect for somebody with a cognitive impairment to try and fit into our world. We have to figure out
Yeah.
how to fit into their world. Um, and also to be there to support and guide families. So, and not focus on things that somebody living with dementia, or living with another form of a cognitive impairment, not focusing on what they can't do, but elevating them to the things they can do.
And I think education and awareness for the family that's affected is so important too, because um, I think people get so frustrated with the whole situation. And of course, there's lashing out at the person who has the impairment, but also just the family itself begins to kind of implode.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very tough disease.
It is tough. Most families that you talk to that have a loved one living with a cognitive impairment, um, will say they've lost their loved one twice. The
Mhm.
first is when that loved one can no longer remember you, right? So you're living that journey every day on your own as you have to reintroduce yourself to them,
Yeah.
and try to help them culminate some of those memories and make those connections. And then at the time of their passing, you're losing that person all over again, a second time. And our instinct as human beings, unfortunately, is to, if you see something that's wrong or not accurate to correct, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And that is the worst thing that you can do for somebody with a cognitive impairment because it's so real to them. It's so real, and it's disturbing and upsetting if you're telling them that that's different than what they
Yeah.
perceive. Mhm.
Mhm.
So you do need a lot of patience. You have to think on your feet, and you have to think like 10 steps ahead. And I
Yeah.
think people it's weird how when you have children, and I don't ever want to equate comparing caring for an aging loved one to caring for a child, but when you have children, you do everything in your power to create safety measures for your children, right? To be sure they don't get hurt, nothing, they don't
Mhm.
run out into the street, they don't make poor decisions. But it's hard to see when adult children are so frozen in being able to make those same decisions for a loved one. It's almost like for us, many times people wait so long to introduce home care until a crisis happens. And home care could be introduced so much sooner to avert a crisis.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a society mind shift.
It is. It is. I think you have to plant the seed that from the first time you start to see your loved one with their circle of friends getting smaller, more isolation, just because you and your family are going to visit doesn't mean that that is all the socialization that that person needs.
Yeah.
They, yeah, they need some variety. And you as a family should be able to just go and be a son, a daughter, a spouse, a grandchild, and not have to worry about navigating all the tasks and care. And
Yeah.
that's an honor for us to be able to preserve those relationships.
Yeah,
So,
that's so special.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So it made me laugh. I when you've done so many interesting uh, podcasts with different people, and you had done a podcast with Michelle Assad, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you used your Chad friend, ChatGPT, and you talked about how it brought up in her relation a crisis navigator, and
Yes.
that resonated with me. I was like, "Oh, I feel like I should have that as part of my titles."
You totally
Crisis
should.
yeah, yeah. It would be wonderful if I didn't have to have that there, but I feel like that's sometimes what it is at
You
times.
guys both, it's just different crisis.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. But it is it's an adventure for sure.
Well, running a business in healthcare, especially in elder care, it requires a lot of heart. So, what keeps you going on the hard days? And also the harder clients or the harder families, like what keeps you motivated to kind of just keep going?
Um, well, I think each family is different. So, trying what keeps me going is trying to be the sounding board for families because like I said, you're not just caring for a client, you're really caring for an entire family that's never been on this journey. And so you do have to have a lot of patience and understanding and empathy because sometimes those families may lash out at you or your staff, not because they're mad at you, but because they're frustrated with their situation or they feel like their situation is out of their control. And so helping them by being a voice of reason or just a listening ear if they're having an argument with a sibling where they can't see eye to eye or they're all by themselves in it, they have no siblings. Like I can always relate to those only children because I know what that story looks like. Um, those are the things that keep me going every day and not giving up, not giving up on families because I wouldn't want for somebody to give up on me.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, that's so good. I guess you just always have to kind of you got to just always keep the perspective in front of you as
yeah.
to, what's going on, and just try to continue understanding and growing.
Yeah, and I think you have to understand, well, there's a lot of emotional intelligence involved
Hmm.
in what we do,
Yeah.
because you're dealing with so many different personalities,
Hmm.
and trying to make those adjustments in how you're talking to somebody. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm true to heart in everything I say, but how I have to figure out how to deliver a message or draw out something from somebody really depends upon that person's personality. So I have to be able to try to adapt to wherever that person is, but still be
Yeah.
true to myself
Hmm.
and our company's mission. Um, I think too, when obstacles, I was doing a presentation a long time ago to people starting a business, and talking to other home care agency owners. And maybe my life, just the amount of challenges in my life, I moved in my teenage years probably 13 or 14 times, and always in upheaval, and dealt with some really difficult family things, and such. But I always figured a way around it. And I feel like in business, that's the same way. I told this story once of, you know, if you were out walking on a path or a trail and you wanted to get to a waterfall, say, and if you come across a path and there's a big limb or tree laying down, would you just give up and go home and sit on your couch and dream about what that waterfall looked like, right? Or would you be the type of person that would think, all right, how do I get around this log? Is there a different path that's going to still get me down to the waterfall so that I can enjoy the end of my journey? And I
Hmm.
think entrepreneurs, and myself included, take that second option. You're
Yes.
trying to figure out your path and your way around those obstacles, because it's never going to be a smooth journey.
Never.
Never,
Never.
never, never. There's going to be times you're going to contemplate, did I make the right choice and
Yep.
everything else? But I think at the end of the day, if you can come back to this brings you joy and it fills your cup, then it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, as long, and you can provide yourself with the basics of what
Right.
your needs, then you're on the right path. But you always have to be, the entrepreneur is always figuring out how to navigate the different paths and the choices that are put in front of them.
I think that the entrepreneurial mindset or business mindset is always 10 steps ahead
Yes.
of a lot of other people. And that's not a criticism to anybody else. I just think that the mind is a little bit different in terms of how they think about their career, their businesses, where they want to go. They're much more visionary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and yeah, your brain does not shut off.
No.
Doesn't. It's, you're always, and if you do have a moment of solitude, it feels a little weird. Like if your mind is very quiet.
You're like, what's wrong? What's
Yes,
going on?
yes, yes. I mean, yeah. Sometimes I'll say to people that are quiet, what are you thinking? Nothing. And I think to myself, nothing. That seems weird.
That's very foreign to me.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
that's why everyone is not built to be a small business owner or an entrepreneur. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need workers in the world.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, we
most definitely.
absolutely need them.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
everybody is structured the same way, and to think about, business in the same way. And that's okay.
It is okay. Yeah. No, I mean, and I think even as an entrepreneur, like even in our business, even though we I really do believe we are an expert in what we do and the information we have. You have to recognize when you need to bring your own support in. So when we, as we kind of navigated home care for my in-laws, each when they were ill, it was important for us to practice what we preached and to
Mhm.
take a step back. I mean, obviously we used our own home care agency for services, but the support of hospice, the support of care, like a geriatric care manager that could be our sounding board so that we could just be in a place to focus on family and our relationship was important too. So I think as a business owner, you have to know when you have to bring your own support in, even though you may be utilizing a service that you provide
Mhm.
for your own personal need.
That is really great advice. Really great advice.
Thank you.
Well, what advice would you give someone thinking about starting a small business in a service-based or caregiving field?
Well, I think again it goes back to the advice of I hear a lot with the people that you speak with about that passion and that fire, but I also think that you have to have that passion and love for whatever you're doing, even on the toughest day, because that passion is going to get you through those thin times. Um, you have to know that each business is going to have a high and a low period in, on a yearly basis. But I think more so too is surrounding yourself with great people, great experts, great mentors, great, like one of the biggest people that had a huge impact was making a decision to hire a business coach, especially as a family business,
Yeah.
because you need somebody impartial to come in and help you work through all of that. So, but I think making sure that um, you you use your skills to the best way possible, but you recognize those areas that you can't do, and you either hire great people that know how to do them even better than you in building your business, or you find mentors that can coach you and help you to strengthen yourself and never stop learning. Like I have a stack of books that have inspired me in all different ways. Everything from, um, I read a book about the Savannah Bees, that baseball team down in Savannah, and how they went from really struggling as a baseball organization to taking it to the next level and making things fun, still
Mhm.
being a great business but making things fun, to everything on how to manage the most difficult conversation with somebody. So just being very well read and being open to always learning, never thinking even 16 and a half years in that I know everything that there is to know about home care. And I think that's the other thing, is understanding that as a business owner, that you always should be open to learning and exposing yourself to different thoughts, different business practices.
Be teachable.
Yeah.
We have to be teachable, and we have to not surround ourselves with people who agree with us all the time too.
Yeah.
You have to have those that think differently and push back and pose different ideas, because it's really easy, to surround ourselves with all the people that think just like we do, because we wanna hear that we're always right.
Yeah. 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 It's funny that you say that, Denise, because we belong to a group of home care agency owners all throughout the United States. Primarily, they're all on the Eastern Seaboard. And we've become great friends over the years. We've been meeting twice a year in person and twice a year by phone since 2016. So going on 10 years.
Wow.
And when we meet, I say to them, of course, you want to support and say you're doing a great job. But I
Mhm.
tell them if I'm like flubbing or if I'm going in a direction that you think is completely off kilter, you need to tell me that. Don't
Yeah.
just tell me that, oh, I think that's great. I need you to be the sounding board. And I think right now we're in this weird culture of social media and
Mhm.
in person that it almost feels weird to have a difference of opinion from somebody, like you're not allowed to do that. And if
Mhm.
you do, it becomes so volatile. There's no way to have a good dialogue where you respect each other's opinions and can still leave at the end of the day and get along with one another. You feel like you
Yeah.
have to agree with or surround yourself, like you said, with people that are the same mindset of you. And
Yeah.
I don't think that was the way in always in past generations. And we're missing out if we don't expose ourselves to people with different ideas and thoughts.
That's a whole other episode.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Probably with some counselors alongside.
I actually, when I worked for the HR company that I did for many, many years, I had a mentor, a man. He was much older, and he still is my mentor today. And I can remember one time talking to him. I've mentioned this on other episodes too. I remember taking a problem to him one time, fully expecting him to take my side.
Oh,
And when I was done presenting my case, he quickly told me how wrong I was and that I needed to stop and think about something a little bit more. And when he kind of presented the other side of it, I was like, "Ah, he was so right. He was
yeah,
absolutely, it was 100% right."
yeah.
Had somebody else I had been talking to said to me, "Oh yes, you are right. You should do this and you shouldn't do that." It would have been exactly what I wanted to hear, but it was not what I needed to hear.
I yeah, I had somebody in my life do that as well. Um, I felt like my childhood growing up, really shaped my process and how I related to people and how I managed people, and I thought it was, like, A plus, doing a great job, right? And people told me that all the time, and, then this business coach, we were discussing something and they did not know my family background, my family history. I mean, I won't delve into it, but I talked a little bit about my dad, and my dad, after everything, became an alcoholic, and I lived a very tumultuous life. And I always thought to myself, well, this is going to make me so much better in my life because I know how I don't want to have be I know how I don't want to treat people
Mhm.
and such. So I never disclosed this information and it's not out there anywhere. And
Well,
I
it
was
is now.
it is now, it is now. But at the time it wasn't out there. And my business coach said to me, "You sound like you grew up in a home where there was some type of substance abuse." And she caught me so off guard. We were on a Zoom call that and she said, and it's impacting you in a negative way and how you direct your staff, meaning my office staff, and how I
Mhm.
manage them and communicate with them. And nobody had ever said that to me, and she caught me so off guard, I had to take them. I actually broke down crying because to have somebody call out so personal and you think
Yeah.
you've risen above it and you're learning that there's things you need to still work on to
Mhm.
become a better manager and better leader and all of that. Um, yeah, that was a changing point
Yeah.
in my life and in how I manage my office.
And aren't you so thankful that that person brought it out into the open, brought it into the light?
Yeah, after I came back to the call, I told her I needed to excuse myself so I could go compose myself and come back. But yeah, I did. I thanked her for that afterwards
Mhm.
because it opened up my mind and it allowed me to be more coachable in improving things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, those moments are really important, and if people aren't experiencing that or hearing that, it's really easy to kind of get stuck in your little bubble.
yeah. Yeah. So I do. I think you need to, like we were saying, surround yourself and be open to having conversations about things
Mhm.
that you don't always necessarily agree on, and not to always feel threatened because it doesn't align with how you feel or what you think, that we're all entitled to a difference of opinion as long as it doesn't place our own personal selves or people we love in jeopardy. But
Right,
I
of
think,
course.
yeah, but I think you have to be open to that because, again, that goes back to that life story we talked about, right? Everybody's beliefs and opinions are molded based upon things that have happened in their life or things that they've been faced with.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, here's my last question.
Okay.
I've loved this conversation every second of it, but,
Oh, thank you.
um, what are you the most proud of, in your business, and what's next for you?
Um, Well, I there's a couple of things, so I'll try not to go off topic because I can very easily. I think one is reaching this over 16-year mark, right?
That's huge.
And it is huge.
Mhm.
Um, but I really think that aside from now being able to really say we are a family business with our daughter following in our footsteps, which is phenomenal, is just the team that we've built here that is really aligned with our mission and passion. Um,
Love
every
that.
Yeah, and I think over the years, we've had great staff members, but never a team that was so aligned in working together and even supporting John and I in where, eventually we'll take a step back and Taylor will be leading this and watching our staff be so fully supportive of her and
Mhm.
all of her accomplishments and helping our clients and really just wanting what's best for them and really taking such heartfelt thought in everything that we do for them and the families. Um, what's on us for the horizon is we've talked so much. We're very involved in the public and in the community and trying to be out there and educating. And one of our biggest passions is to make our communities more dementia friendly. And Parkinson's is a form of dementia. Sometimes people realize that, sometimes they don't. But last year we started an initiative, and this is where you talk about obstacles, where we went to the town twice to see if they would support our mission in lighting downtown purple in honor of it was in June last year in honor of the longest day, which is part of like the mission for the Alzheimer's Association. This year we're doing it in September, but we were met with pushback from the downtown council in Manchester. And instead of taking that and saying, like, oh, I guess we're not doing it, we went door to door and canvassed every business on Main Street in Manchester last year and lit downtown purple with businesses supporting us because we want the town of Manchester and other towns to be dementia friendly, to understand how you interact with somebody that comes into your restaurant or into your insurance company or just shopping, and recognizing how that person deserves the right skill sets to enjoy that place of business and for your employees to be able to interact with them and provide them the best possible experience. So This year, we're doing it in September because there's other significant dates in September relating to Alzheimer's. And we are going back out and canvassing downtown and hoping it will take off just like it did last year and spreading its wings, because it really picked up and people outside of the downtown Manchester area had this huge, like their business purple. So
Aw,
that is, yeah. And so the goal is to just continue to get in and educate businesses and recognizing that we have a large presence of either people living in our communities living with a cognitive impairment or supporting family caregivers who are taking care of somebody living with a cognitive impairment. And we
mhm.
need to all be there to support one another. So
Wow.
that's our next initiative. So if you are in Manchester or the downtown Manchester and you want to learn about it, you can give us a call. If you're in a different town and you would like to participate, we would love to light the entire state of Connecticut purple.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Well, you guys are definitely living your calling.
Thank you so much.
So, where can people find you on social and your website?
Yep. So our website is www.abccentralct.com. On Facebook, we're at ABC Central CT. Instagram, I have to read because it's the word always, then the underscore, best underscore, care underscore, central underscore, and CT. And we do have a YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and look up Always Best Care Senior Services of Central Connecticut, we have a wonderful YouTube channel with a whole bunch of educational pieces called Tuesday Tips with Taylor that are wonderful for families or people that are caregivers, family caregivers.
Wow. Okay. I will be sure to note that
Thank you.
um, on the episode so that people can also see it in writing. And
Perfect.
Kristine, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and for building thriving communities.
Oh, Denise, thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so excited for you and the Counter Life. I'm just as joyful to see all the success that
Aw,
you have and continue to have. And I'm so grateful for our friendship together over, I was thinking it's over 26 years now.
it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. So thank you so much. And I just feel so blessed to know you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.